Tell your story, build your brand. artmedianorthwest.com. artmedianw.com. Now enjoy this conversation with JoJo Scott. All right, we're here with JoJo Scott today. JoJo, thank you for being on the podcast and telling us about your new EP.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did you decide to start playing guitar and sing?
So I don't think music has ever really been a choice for me. It's just something that's been a part of me. I've always sang since I was really, really little. But guitar was more of a decision that my parents were like, you should do this. And so when I was 6, they bought me my first guitar, but then I didn't start taking lessons until I was 9.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then when you were 9, who was your teacher?
Austin Randle at 5 Star Guitars.
Nice. Love Austin.
Yeah.
He's awesome. All right. I'm going to interview him later this month.
Oh, really?
So,
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Tell him I say hi.
All right. Will do. And with your recording, how did you come up with the song ideas?
Yeah, so the album or the EP, I wanted it to be kind of like a concept album, so there was a theme throughout the whole thing. And I've been working on this EP for 2+ years, something like that. I've been recording for a while, and I knew that I wanted to put out a project, so I would just write songs and be like, oh, this fits together, but that doesn't fit together. And eventually I landed on the idea of growing up, because that's something that obviously is happening to me right now. I'm 17, so I just felt that all the songs that I put onto this EP really fit together. And yeah, they all have to do with my past, present, future, everything in my life. And yeah, that's what it's about.
Awesome. That's something we can all relate to. It's some of us have to look back a little farther than others. So what inspired you to write your own music instead of just playing cover songs?
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to write my own music. I know that there's some really cringy videos of me on our desktop computer singing songs that I wrote when I was very little. But in 7th grade, I was really inspired by Ed Sheeran. I just started getting into him in the 7th grade. And obviously he's a very amazing songwriter. I love his stuff.
I see some Ed Sheeran tribute over there. Yeah.
So he definitely inspired me to start songwriting. I think I was going through a rough time with friends that I had, and just his music and that combined, and that's when my first song came out, I guess.
Nice. If I can say, and we can cut this out if you don't like it, but I remember when you really started learning how to sing, because I was teaching at Camp Amp, and I had seen you sing for, quite a while already, in different concerts and things like that. And there was one year at Camp Amp, and I was, the band was playing and you were belting it out, and I was like, JoJo learned how to sing. And it was I just thought it was awesome, because I saw a really dramatic shift in your ability. And I think a lot of that is the confidence and the just ability to kind of let go of the judgments and kind of internal dialogue that goes on when we're trying to improve our skills as a musician. And that was really cool to see that. I literally said it out loud because the band was loud enough at that moment. It's
No, that's really awesome. Yeah, for me, I've always sang and I've always been singing, but there definitely was a shift probably around middle school where I was I don't really care what other people perceive me as, this is what I want to do. And yeah, I definitely have grown as a vocalist. Yeah,
it's an important shift that for everyone, and I think it's a good life skill to learn too. Mm-hmm. To not kind of go so harsh at ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So in the early years, where did you grow up, and can you share 1 or 2 stories from your childhood?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up here, Portland. This has been my home forever.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I had obviously an amazing childhood with the most amazing and supportive parents ever. There's this one time, this is totally random, but it has to relate with music. We were sitting in the car, and my mom turns on the radio, and there's this like really sad song that starts playing, and I just like start uncontrollably sobbing, and I'm like, turn it off. And me and my mom get in this like huge argument of over like she didn't want to turn it off because she liked the song, and I was like, no, it was too sad. Like, and this was when I was like 2 or 3, and my mom was like, I knew before that I was always gonna sing, but like she knew then that like my connection to music was like deeper than just like the surface level, like, oh, I
Wow.
like music, you know?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite authors, artists, and musicians, if anything comes to mind?
Yeah. Let's see. I'm not really sure about like authors. I read like a very wide variety of books,
Sure.
and like I don't have like a specific author that like is my favorite, but music wise, like I said earlier, I love Ed Sheeran. I'm really inspired by Shawn Mendes, Harry Styles, Casey Musgraves. When I was little, I was really inspired by Taylor Swift. My teachers in elementary school used to call me JoJo Swift. Fun facts. And I don't know, I'm really into like Fleetwood Mac, the Beatles, Queen, Elton John, just like all that type of stuff. My music genres go really all over the place because like I'm really into like hip hop and rap, and then I'm really into like country and then pop music and then like oldies and like Motown and like all that stuff. So
It's really diverse.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. What are some challenges that you faced in writing and recording your music?
a lot. You
Yeah.
know, I had no idea what I was doing when I first went into recording. But over the process, like I really learned a lot, and I'm really thankful for all the people who have like helped me out over the process. So I think I said earlier that I recorded at the Rye Room. So Matt Greco and the people who were working there with me. So Matt Greco, Jacob Westfall, Carrie Samsel, Mark Musey, they all played on one of the tracks called Famous. And then the rest of the EP was done at Track 11 Music with Luke Neal, and then it was mastered by Tyler Hobbs at Van Studios. And everyone who helped me through this process, like, I so appreciate them. I literally had no clue. I went in and I was like, oh, I was supposed to have everything figured out. Like, I thought we were going to do that here.
Right.
Like, no clue at all. But, you know, they helped me work through it, and I'm really proud of what came out.
That's awesome. Maybe I can write down the names of those studios and we can add that to the liner notes too, so
Yeah, for sure.
other people that are in your shoes can kind of find out how you did it. Did the place and time that you grew up impact how you learned?
Music-wise?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can say that.
Because, like, school-wise, I don't know. I don't know if I really pay enough attention to school. But music-wise, I think for sure a lot of my, like, drive came from, obviously I went to like lessons and like I learned like the basic chords there, but as a musician, like I developed a lot at home because I had access to like the internet and YouTube and like going on Ultimate Guitar Tabs and like looking up all the songs that I was really into, and that was what really pushed me forward, especially with my guitar skills, because when I first started I really hated playing guitar because I was really bad and I couldn't do it very well. So
Well,
yeah.
you got better though.
Yeah,
you
for
pushed
sure.
through it. That's awesome. When do you feel most creative? Is there a specific like time of year or something that inspires you to kind of go in a direction? Or
I think my creativity comes from like emotion. So like whenever I feel sad, I'm very creative. And also whenever I'm like extremely happy, I can also be really creative. So it's like I draw from whatever I'm feeling or whatever experiences I have had, whether it's like that day or like 3 years ago, I look back at something and I'm like, oh, that made me feel really mad. I'm going to write a song about that. But I think the least creative times for me are when I'm like really stressed out or like I just feel like fine, you know, like nothing good or bad
Meh.
is happening.
Yeah,
it's like, whatever, I'm
yeah.
living life.
okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. What mentors did you have along the way that come to mind?
Oh my goodness, there's been so many people. Well, first of all, like my parents, I guess they are the ones who have helped me through everything. You know, my mom really pushed the music thing. She was like, JoJo, I know you love doing this. You really need to like keep doing it. And I was like, yes, I agree. I love it. But Austin Randle was the first person who taught me how to play guitar. So he really helps me become the guitarist that I am today. Definitely would not have been able to do anything that has happened so far in my life if I hadn't been able to play guitar. And then there's so many people in the Portland music community who have helped me out and have like taught me so many things. A really big person for mentoring me has been Jacob Westfall. I don't know if you know him, but he's a really great singer-songwriter in the Portland area, and he's helped me a lot, whether it's go into the studio with me and help me figure out what I'm doing, or like just support me in my musical endeavors.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to bounce ideas off of people, or sort of like figure out a way to make the bridge work a little better with the song, or whatever it is, you know. I think mentors are really important to a lot of us, and those that say that they're not, they probably have mentors in different ways, you know.
Yeah,
whether
totally
it be
agree.
through recordings or books or whatever, you know. So, in your opinion, what are some of the best ways someone can cultivate the skills that you've learned?
That's a good question. I like looked over the questions before and I was like, okay, I think I have answers to all of these, but some of them are very like, to me they're like deep questions, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I want to give like good advice. So I would say just like there's obviously like many different ways that you can cultivate your creativity or learn how to play guitar and sing. And I think it's all about just like the first thing you need is the like want to do it. Like you can't be forced into doing something, especially when it's like very creative. But like for me, I really learned through guitar lessons and singing lessons. Especially for singing, like I would not have gotten better without the lessons. Guitar, I see how some people like learn on YouTube or just like look up chords. You can obviously search the web or go buy a book and like learn that way. I think that's super important. As well, even if you are doing lessons, you also need to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for sure. And then, yeah, I mean, it's really just like you have to really want to do it in order to be able to do it, I guess.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's really easy to give up, you know?
Yeah. It's easy to give up when it gets hard.
Exactly.
And you got to push through when it gets hard. And as a guitar teacher, I'll just add a little liner note to that. Learning stuff on Ultimate Guitar or whatever, often the chords and the tabs are wrong. So always just use your ear. If your ear tells you that sounds wrong, don't do it. Do what sounds right. So.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Sometimes I have to take the songs that I'm trying to learn into my lessons and be like, so all of this is wrong. I don't know how to fix it. Please help.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to have a starting point, though.
Exactly.
You know, they might have 3 out of the 4 chords correct. Who are some of your favorite bands and artists, either locally or just internationally?
Yeah, I mean, I talked a lot about before, like, different, like, international artists that I like or, like, really popular artists. But local artists, Haley Johnson, Haley Lynn, the June Bugs, Jacob Westfall, the Samsel Band, Common Hours. There's so many great ones. Like, I could go on. I listen to local music a lot. I think that it's really, like, underappreciated, which makes me sad because I
totally feel that.
Yeah, no, I, like, see how hard all these people in the community work. And, like, I feel that, too, because I'm also working hard as well. But, yeah, I think that, you know, if you don't support local music, you definitely should. And some of the best music comes out of people in your city that you might not know of.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. That's great. How was your CD release party? Can you tell us about how that went and what other acts were there and all that stuff? I had a prior engagement, so I couldn't make it.
Yeah, no, it was so much fun. I was so happy with how it turned out. You know, when you're planning like events like this or like releases or anything, even if you're not having a show to release it at, it's like very stressful trying to get all the details in order. And I had the show at Cobalt Studios and I'm so thankful to them for letting me use their space. And Jacob Westfall closed the night and Salvatore Manalo opened the night, and then I was like in the middle there.
Nice.
But it was so much fun. So many people came out, and yeah, I'm so thankful.
Yeah. What were your favorite and least favorite parts of writing, recording, and releasing your EP?
I would say, I mean, the creative part was the funnest. Like writing the songs, going into the studio and recording, like doing the artwork and all that stuff. That stuff is like what I love. The harder part for me was all the like stuff that comes afterwards. I don't think everyone realizes how much work you have to put in after the music is like done, doing like all the little details and trying to get like things perfectly in place, and like getting on to, like, I was on the news, and Vortex magazine did an article about premiering the EP, and that stuff, I'm so happy that I did it and everything turned out so great. But like all the tiny little details, especially the most stressful part, I think, was the release show, because it was like I had to find the venue, find the people who would play, and then after that's all done, you have to get people to come out,
Right.
which you never know how the turnout's gonna be. So
yeah, a lot of marketing and promoting and all that kind of stuff. And even the details on the the disc itself, getting the artwork, and did you go through CD Baby, or was it
Yeah, I went through CD Baby. It was a struggle. I released 2 singles before the EP, so I knew how to do like the online stuff, but like doing the like physical CD stuff, I had no idea. So I used CD Baby's site for that as well. And I had like done all the artwork. I had spent like a week on like just trying to get all the little like details right and editing photos and doing all this stuff for it, and I go to upload it and it's not like on the correct template.
Oh no.
But I don't have Adobe, so I had to send it over to Sarah Neal, who's Luke Neal's wife, and they're both amazing. They're both so supportive of my music and everything. Luke Neal is the one from Track 11 Music who helped me record the EP, but she like totally reformatted all the artwork for me, and she put so much work into it, and I'm so thankful. Like, I had no idea what I was doing.
That's awesome. That's really great to have that kind of help and support when you need it, And especially when you get so close, just like, come on.
I know, it's like just one little tweak.
Right? How do you balance music, school, creating, gigs, promotion, recording?
It's a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
I definitely push off my schoolwork most of the time, which is really bad. My grades have definitely suffered this year, but to me it's worth it because music is what I love doing, creating and recording and playing shows. Like, that's my passion and what I'm going to do after high school. I obviously like still get all my work done for school. Sometimes it just takes me a little longer than everyone else, but it's really just like sometimes I have to stay up till like 2 or 3 in the morning doing like my English assignment because I had a gig the night before, and it's a little difficult, but like I manage. I couldn't not do music, It's like it's a give and a take, and
it's in your blood.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you think creativity or skill is more important?
So, in my opinion, I know a lot of people would disagree with me, but I think creativity is more important than skills, because if you have the emotion and the like creativity it takes to write an amazing song, whether it has like super like advanced chords or like how to like tab it out or anything, I think the creativity always comes first, because you can always learn the skills later. But I think that you can be taught skills, but most of the time the creativity has to already be inside you. You can't always learn creativity.
I like that. How would you describe yourself and your music?
Okay. I would describe myself as a young singer-songwriter from Portland. I do acoustic pop music, but I take a lot of inspiration from so many different genres. Like I was talking about earlier, I take inspiration from like pop and hip hop and rock and country and everything. It just like all kind of blends into my acoustic pop set, and everything I do kind of just like ends up blending together. I take like, even when I cover songs, I take them and I make them my own.
And how about yourself? How would you describe yourself? Because that was your music, right?
Yeah, that definitely was my music. Sometimes it's hard for me to like separate myself from my music. So like if I was to describe myself, I would say hardworking and really creative. Those are the 2 things to me that are like if I were to say two things about myself, that's definitely what I would say. Because without those things, I wouldn't be who I am.
Would you say, like, how would you say, how valuable is creativity and music and the arts? How valuable are they to society?
I think they're one of the most valuable things to this world. Especially music is such like a universal language. Even if you don't speak the language that's being like sang in the music, like you could connect through the emotion and the feelings that you get like from music. And you know, the world would not be the same without it. I think it would be a really, really sad place without music or art or writing.
I agree. Do you have friends who are doing the same thing that you're doing with music and creating CDs? And
Yeah, so I'm really good friends with a lot of artists in the Portland music community. So in that sense, yes, but people at my school, not really. I think there's some other musicians at my school who are also very talented, but I think a lot of the times like we're kind of like alienated or like looked at as like different because we're doing something that's not like what normal high schoolers do, which is
sports and music,
sports
band and
exactly
and things like that. Yeah. It's a tough situation because like within your peer group, it's not your peer group, so you've created another peer group that's outside of your school, I guess.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your current projects and where you would like to focus your creative energy in the near future?
Yeah, so right now I'm working on a couple videos for the EP to go along with it. So right now I'm working on a music video for one of the songs, and then I have a few other video ideas that will all be released like in the next couple of months. And this next year I want to be releasing a couple singles so you guys can hear some more of the songs that I wrote while trying to figure out what I wanted to do for this project because they were kind of all over the place.
Yeah, it's hard to have a constant thread going all the way through an album. I think that's cool that you were able to achieve that.
Thank you.
Yeah. What would be your advice to 10-year-old JoJo if she would listen?
I would say, well, even the advice that I would give my 10-year-old self, I would give myself now. And it's just to keep going, to work the hardest that you can, and to never stop doing what you love, and to not care what other people think about you. Because I think that took me a little bit to figure out. I was definitely like I'm still a pretty shy person, but when I was really little, I was very shy and very self-conscious. But I grew out of that, and at this point, I'm kind of like, I don't care, what other people think of me. I just want to do what I love doing.
That's good advice for anybody, I think. How do people new to the music industry get their music out into the world and develop a following?
Yeah, so my advice for that would be play as many shows as you can. Go to every open mic that you can. Open mics, I connected with so many different people, and that's how I really met people, because I couldn't always go to people's shows because I'm not 21 yet. So, yeah, basically just like keep doing what you're doing, keep creating, release music if you can. But I think it's really important to support other musicians as well, because then you'll get that support back.
What are a couple of ways that artists can help one another?
Yeah, so like I just said, like go to each other's shows. Support one another by listening to each other's music or posting about each other's music. And you can get together and write songs together, or just like create like a creative community and just be kind to each other. I think artists connecting and making connections with people who do music just like you is really important.
Are there any questions I should have asked you so far that I didn't?
I think I think you got everything so far. I mean, I can't think of anything else.
All right. Do you have any advice for our creative listeners?
Yeah, I mean, it would be really similar to what I would suggest to my 10-year-old self, and it's just to keep going and keep doing what you're doing. Sometimes people want to discourage you because they don't believe in what you're doing, or they don't think that what you're doing is important, and it's important to like keep your self-worth and realize that if this is what you want to do and this is like the genre or any like the style of clothes you want to wear while you perform or anything like that, like just keep doing it. You know, there's always going to be people who don't support you, but it's important to be happy with yourself rather than make other people happy.
Good. Where can people find you online and support your music in a cool way?
You can find me at JoJo Scott Music on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then, let's see, you can stream my music if you look up JoJo Scott on any of your preferred streaming platforms. It's basically on everything. So,
cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome. JoJo, thank you for taking the time and sharing your music experience with us. And I look forward to hearing your EP and even more music coming out soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Find out more at artmedianorthwest.com. ARTMediaNW.com.